In front of the whole family, my father shouted, "You're a family disgrace." Everyone laughed. I calmly stood up and left. A year later, they were frantic. My inbox flooded with 30 unread emails begging for help. Hey everyone. Before we dive in, I have a quick favor to ask. If you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, supports the channel, and ensures you never miss out on amazing videos. Alright, let's get started. I never thought I'd be writing this, but here I am. It's been eating at me for days, and I need to get it off my chest. This happened last weekend at what was supposed to be a normal family gathering. Some background. I'm Miguel, 27M, the oldest of 3 kids. My father, Warren, has always been difficult. He runs a local construction supply store that's been in the family for 2 generations. Everyone in our family works there, except me. I chose a different path and started my own business in digital marketing 3 years ago. Last Sunday was my mom's birthday. Everyone gathered at my parents' house, aunts, uncles, cousins, the whole circus. I brought my girlfriend Paisley, who was meeting the extended family for the first time. Things were tense from the moment we walked in. My father barely acknowledged us, just gave that dismissive grunt he's perfected over the years. The drama started during dinner. My sister, Gianna, 24, was talking about how the store has been struggling lately because of the new Home Depot that opened nearby. Dad was getting visibly angry, his face turning red as she spoke. Then my aunt Bernice just had to pipe up. Well, if Miguel had joined the family business like he was supposed to. I saw it coming. Dad slammed his fork down so hard the plates rattled. You want to know why we're struggling? Because this one, he pointed at me, this ungrateful son of mine, abandoned his family. While we're breaking our backs at the store, he's playing around with his little computer games. I stayed calm. Dad, I've offered to help modernize the store's marketing multiple times. You refused. Marketing, he spat the word like it was poison. Marketing. Real men don't hide behind computer screens. Real men work with their hands. The whole table went quiet. Paisley squeezed my hand under the table. I could feel her tension. My business made 6 figures last year, I said quietly. I could help. That's when he lost it completely. He stood up, face purple with rage, and screamed, "You're a family disgrace." And then something happened that I'll never forget. People laughed. My uncles, some cousins, they actually laughed, like my life choices were some kind of joke. Paisley was shaking with anger beside me. My mother just stared at her plate like she always does when Dad goes off. Gianna looked horrified but didn't say a word. Nobody ever stands up to him. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the floor. The laughter died down as I looked around the table, making eye contact with each person who had laughed. I'm done, I said. I'm done being the family punching bag. I'm done watching you run that store into the ground because you're too proud to adapt. I'm done with all of it. Dad sneered. Running away again? Go ahead. When your little internet business fails, don't come crawling back. I helped Paisley up, and we walked to the door. Behind us, I could hear Dad ranting about kids these days and no respect for tradition. My mother called out weakly, "Miguel, please." But I didn't turn back. In the car, Paisley was furious. Those people are toxic. How dare they laugh at you when you're more successful than all of them combined? I started the engine, feeling strangely calm. You know what's funny? Dad doesn't know that I've been getting messages from his suppliers. They're not happy with him. Some of them are looking for new partnerships in the area. What are you going to do? Paisley asked. I pulled out of the driveway, watching my father's house shrink in the rearview mirror. Nothing, yet. But when they come asking for help, and they will, I'm going to remember everyone who laughed today. My phone started buzzing with messages from Gianna and my mom, but I turned it off. I'm done playing the dutiful son. They want to see me as a disgrace? Fine. Let's see how they feel when their precious family business starts crumbling, and the only person who could help them is the son they laughed at. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Edit, thanks for all the support and awards. To answer some common questions, yes, I have screenshots of everything, and no, I won't be responding to any of their messages, for now. Some of you guessed it, there's a lot more to this story than just today's blow-up. I'll post an update when things develop. Edit 2. For those asking about the store's online presence, they don't even have a website, just a Facebook page that hasn't been updated since 2019. And yes, it's exactly as bad as it sounds. Update. It's amazing how 6 months of silence can make people show their true colors. I hadn't heard from any family members except my sister Gianna, who'd occasionally send me memes on Instagram. Then suddenly, my phone started blowing up. It started with a text from my mom. "Miguel, honey, your father's been asking about you." Yeah, right. More like their carefully constructed facade was starting to crack. See, what my father didn't know when he was busy screaming at me about being a disgrace was that I'd been paying attention. I knew exactly how he ran his auto parts supply business, cutting corners, underpaying workers, and barely staying afloat while pretending to be the big shot of our neighborhood. A friend who still worked at a local shop texted me, "Dude, Your old man's losing it. He came in screaming at Pedro about late deliveries. Pedro had been our family friend for 15 years, running the most reliable delivery service in the area. If Warren was yelling at him, things were bad. I ignored the first wave of messages, then came the voicemails. Miguel, this is your father. Call me back immediately. Your father's not well. Please call us. This is all your fault. Ever since you left, delete. But the real kicker came when Gianna called me at 2 a.m., crying. Dad's losing contracts left and right, she sobbed. He fired 3 people today, including Pedro. He's drinking again, Miguel. Mom's scared. I sat there in my dark apartment, staring at my phone screen. What does he expect me to do about it? He needs help with the business. He keeps saying, if you just stayed, I cut her off. No, he made his choice when he decided to humiliate me in front of everyone. The next day I decided to do some digging. Turned out Warren's biggest supplier was pulling out due to late payments. 3 others were considering following suit. The business he'd bragged about for decades, the one he'd tried to force me to take over, was imploding. I got a LinkedIn message from Pedro later that week. He wanted to meet for coffee. Against my better judgment, I agreed. The sight of Pedro's defeated expression hit harder than expected. He'd lost weight, had dark circles under his eyes. Your father, he started, then shook his head. I've never seen him like this. He's burning bridges faster than he can count them. Called me a thief in front of everyone, Miguel, me, who carried his deliveries even when he was late paying. I sipped my coffee slowly. Why are you telling me this? Because you're smarter than him. Always have been. You saw the writing on the wall years ago, didn't you? That's why you refused to join. He wasn't wrong. I'd seen the outdated systems, the mounting debt, the desperate moves to keep up appearances. Warren was still using paper ledgers while competitors had sophisticated inventory management systems. The messages kept coming. Mom sent pictures of my childhood bedroom, still untouched. Cousins tried guilt-tripping me on Facebook. Aunts left long emotional voicemails about family duty. Then Warren himself showed up at my apartment building one evening. I watched from my window as he paced outside, probably practiced speech in hand. I didn't buzz him in. After an hour, he left a crumpled envelope in my mailbox. Inside was a handwritten letter full of the same old manipulation tactics. Your mother's heartbroken. This business was meant for you. Everything I did was for this family. Not a single genuine apology. I sat down at my computer that night and started making calls. Turned out several of Warren's former employees were looking for work. Pedro's delivery expertise was going to waste. And those suppliers my father was losing, they were interested in new partnerships. Warren had always said I was too soft for business, too analytical, not enough gut instinct like him. Well, time to show him just how wrong he was. I knew the next few months would be interesting. Warren had no idea what was coming, and this time, I wouldn't be the one screaming. Update, wow, this blew up. Thanks for all the supportive comments. To those asking, yes, this is all happening in real time, and yes, I'll keep you updated. Things are about to get very interesting. Update 2. You know what's surreal? Sitting in your own office, sipping coffee, and watching your father's business literally fall apart across the street. Not in some metaphorical way. I mean actually seeing him pacing through his windows, screaming into his phone while his employees pack up their desks. Let me catch you up real quick. 6 months ago, I walked out on my family after my dad Warren publicly humiliated me at a family gathering. Since then, I've been building my own business. And it turns out cutting toxic people out of your life really does wonders for your focus and productivity. I hadn't planned on setting up shop directly across from Warren's place, but when the lease came up at a ridiculously good price, I'd have been stupid to pass it up just because my old man's failing business was nearby. The look on his face, the day my sign went up, priceless. He actually stormed across the street, burst into my office without an appointment, and started screaming about how I was deliberately trying to ruin him. You ungrateful little, he yelled, his face turning that familiar shade of purple. You think you can just waltz in here? And I cut him off. Security will be here in about 30 seconds, Warren. I suggest you leave before they escort you out. The way his jaw dropped when I called him Warren instead of Dad. That moment alone was worth the price of the lease. Here's the thing about karma. Sometimes it needs a little nudge. I didn't do anything illegal or underhanded. I just started offering better service, better prices, and better working conditions than Warren ever did. One by one, his best employees started sending their resumes my way. I hired the good ones, including his office manager of 15 years, Bernice, who had all sorts of interesting stories about his business practices. My sister Gianna still worked for him at the time. She called me one night, practically in tears. Miguel, Dad's losing it. He threw a stapler at Pedro's head today because the quarterly numbers were down. Tell Pedro to email me his resume, I replied, and you should probably update yours too. 2 weeks later, they both started working for me. Warren's reaction? He showed up at my apartment at 3 a.m., drunk off his ass, alternating between threatening to sue me and begging me to come back to the family business. I recorded the whole thing on my phone, just in case. The real turning point came when I landed the Anderson contract, Warren's biggest client for the past decade. I didn't poach them. They came to me after Warren screwed up their last 3 orders. When he found out, he had another meltdown, this time in the middle of downtown, screaming about how I was destroying the family legacy. Several people recorded it. The videos made the rounds on our local Facebook group. Watching him unravel was fascinating. Every time he made a scene, it just drove more business my way. People started sharing stories about how he treated them over the years. Turns out, I wasn't the only one he'd publicly humiliated. Last week, I heard through the grapevine that he's 3 months behind on rent. His remaining employees are jumping ship left and right. Josephine, his longtime receptionist, literally walked out in the middle of the day after he threw another tantrum yesterday. Gianna brought me some interesting news during our lunch break. Dad's trying to get a loan to keep the business afloat, she said. But no bank will touch him after those bounced checks from last month. I leaned back in my chair and looked out my window at Warren's office. He was there, head in his hands, looking every bit the defeated man he'd become. Part of me felt a twinge of, not exactly sympathy, but something. Then I remembered how he'd treated me, Mom, and everyone else for years. You know what's funny, Gianna? I said, turning back to her. He always said I'd never amount to anything, that I was a family disgrace. Now look where we are. She nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. I'm not done yet. Word is that Warren's landlord is looking to sell the building. I've already made some calls. Wouldn't it be something if his new landlord turned out to be his disgrace of a son? I'll keep you posted on how that plays out. For now, I've got a meeting with a real estate agent to prepare for. Final update. It's been exactly 1 year since I cut contact with my family. Last week, my inbox was flooded with desperate messages. My father's pride finally shattered when his beloved business started crumbling. Turns out running a small construction supply store isn't so easy when your suppliers won't work with you anymore. Quick recap. Last year, my father Warren humiliated me at our family Christmas dinner, calling me a family disgrace in front of everyone because I quit working for him to start my own business. I walked out and never looked back. Since then, I've been methodically working on my revenge. I didn't respond to any of their messages at first. Let them stew. Each day, more desperate texts and voicemails piled up. My sister Gianna was the only one I kept minimal contact with. She'd been secretly feeding me information about the family situation. Miguel, Dad's losing it. She texted me last Tuesday. He's been drinking heavily. The store might not make it through the month. Good. My plan was working perfectly. Over the past year, I'd built relationships with all of Warren's major suppliers. Nothing illegal, just good old-fashioned business networking. One by one, they started refusing to work with him, citing better offers elsewhere. I made sure to price my new supply business just low enough to steal his regular customers, but not so low it looked suspicious. The breaking point came when I bought the building where his store operated. The previous landlord was happy to sell. I offered 15% above market value. Warren's lease was coming up for renewal next month. Yesterday, I finally agreed to meet them at our old family diner. Warren, my mom, Bernice, and my uncle Pedro were already there when I walked in. Warren looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes. Good son, he started, voice cracking. I cut him off. I'm not your son anymore. You made that very clear last Christmas. I'm your landlord and your competitor now. Bernice started crying. Pedro tried to play peacemaker. Miguel, please, we can work this out as a family. I pulled out a folder and dropped it on the table. These are my terms, non-negotiable. Inside was a new lease agreement, triple the current rent starting next month. Also included was a contract to sell me his remaining inventory at 40% of value. Warren's face turned red. This is extortion! You can't do this to your own father. I leaned forward, speaking quietly but firmly. Watch me. You have 48 hours to decide. After that, I start entertaining other tenants for the space. I hear Planet Fitness is looking to expand in this area. You vindictive little... Warren started to rise, but Pedro held him back. Remember how you laughed when you called me a disgrace? I continued. Remember how everyone joined in? Well, who's the disgrace now? Bernice was sobbing harder. Please, Miguel, this business is your father's life, and my life meant nothing to him. Funny how karma works. I stood up to leave. Warren grabbed my arm. I'm sorry, okay? Is that what you want to hear? I was wrong. I yanked my arm away. Too late. 48 hours. Clock's ticking. As I walked out, I heard Bernice wailing and Warren cursing. Music to my ears. This morning, I received the signed contracts via courier. Warren's signature was shaky, but legible. I immediately called my lawyer to process everything. An hour ago, Gia came to my office. She handed me an old photo, me and Warren at my high school graduation, both smiling. He really did love you, you know, she said softly. I took the photo and dropped it in my shredder without breaking eye contact. Love doesn't excuse abuse. He made his choice last Christmas. I made mine. She nodded slowly. What happens now? Now, I'm going to systematically dismantle everything he spent his life building. Not because I hate him, but because he needs to understand that actions have consequences. My phone buzzed, another desperate message from Bernice, begging me to reconsider. I blocked her number. Some might call me cruel. Maybe I am, but I learned from the best. My father taught me that family means nothing when pride and money are on the line. I'm just putting his lessons into practice. The store's new sign goes up next week. I'm thinking of keeping the family name, just to twist the knife a little deeper. After all, isn't that what family is for? This is my final update. Thanks for all the support. Reddit. Sometimes the best revenge is simply becoming everything they said you couldn't be, and then using it against them. Edit. To those asking, yes, everything was completely legal. Amazing what you can accomplish with patience and careful planning. And no, I don't feel guilty at all. Edit 2. Stop DMing me asking for legal advice. This wasn't about laws or courts. This was about business and backbone. Edit 3. Since many are asking, yes, some family members have tried to mediate. I've blocked them all. Except Gia. She understands why I did what I did, even if she doesn't fully agree. Like today's story? A super thanks helps me keep bringing you the best daily content. Your support means I can keep doing what I love. Thanks for being awesome. She handed me an old photo, me and Warren at my high school graduation, both smiling. He really did love you, you know, she said softly. I took the photo and dropped it in my shredder without breaking eye contact. Love doesn't excuse abuse. He made his choice last Christmas. I made mine. She nodded slowly. What happens now? Now, I'm going to systematically dismantle everything he spent his life building. Not because I hate him, but because he needs to understand that actions have consequences. My phone buzzed, another desperate message from Bernice, begging me to reconsider. I blocked her number. Some might call me cruel. Maybe I am, but I learned from the best. My father taught me that family means nothing when pride and money are on the line. I'm just putting his lessons into practice. The store's new sign goes up next week. I'm thinking of keeping the family name, just to twist the knife a little deeper. After all, isn't that what family is for? This is my final update. Thanks for all the support. Reddit.